the time to move to our next session, that is the technical session number first that we are going to start. We are already late for the session, and I must request everybody of the next session, upcoming session, to please keep a watch on time, so that because we are many more sessions to come after this also. So for this technical session number one, may I please welcome on this screen Dr. Kavita Suri ma'am, Director and Head Department of Lifelong Learning, University of Jammu, J&K, India. For her, I would like to say that Dr. Kavita Suri ma'am is working as Director and Head Department of Lifelong Learning, uh, University of Jammu and Kashmir. She has also worked as a member, J&K State Commission for the Protection of Women and Child Rights, Jammu and Kashmir government for a 3-year term. She has also been a member board of directors, Jammu and Kashmir Women Development Corporation, J&K. A PhD in education from the University of Jammu. She has authored 9 books, including Gujjar and Bakarwals of Jammu and Kashmir in the Shadows of Conflict, Voices Unheard Women, Conflict in Kashmir, Turtuk Unveiled, Impact of Violence on Girls, Education in Kashmir, Women, Gender and Society in India, Emerging Issues from Jammu and Kashmir, Women and Development in Ladakh, Reflections from Ladakh and Beyond. She has been a recipient of a number of fellowships and awards, including British Fellowship at the University of Westminster, London in 2005, a US International Visitor Leadership Program. She has been awarded by various awards and fellowships, and she has worked as a resource person and chairperson in many national and international conferences. With these words, may I please welcome on the screen Dr. Kavita Suri ma'am for our technical session number one. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Ravindra Kumar, for generous introduction. Thank you all. And I can see it's 110. We have 5 speakers: Dr. Uzma Siddiqui, Dr. Rajni Pathania, Meena Shankarji, Sinoj Anthony, and Teresa Vahingam. 5 participants. All the 5 participants are here, because accordingly I'll distribute the time if all the 5 participants are here. Dr. Uma Siddiqui, are you here? Ma'am, are you here?
Yes, ma'am, I'm very much here.
Okay. Dr. Rajni Pathania, ma'am, are you here? Rajni Pathania, ma'am? I think let's start. Yeah, I can see Sinoj Anthony, sir. I can see Meena Shankarji is here. Meena ji, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think 10 minutes is very comfortable. We can wind up at around 2:05 or 2:10 if that would be the case. So without wasting much time, we have got delayed, but it was wonderful to listen to Dr. Minas. Now the session is technical session 1, and I would request Dr. Uma Siddiqui to present her paper, University Students' Perceptions of Mobile Learning. Uzma Siddiqui. Pardon my this thing, Dr. Uzma Siddiqui. Ma'am, yes, ma'am. You can start, and you have, ma'am, 10 minutes, maybe 10 to 11 minutes. You can wind up at 11th. Thank you so much.
Okay, hello everyone from Aligarh. This is Dr. Uzma Siddiqui, Assistant Professor in Department of Education, Aligarh Muslim University. And without wasting any much time, I'm just starting with my presentation. So let me share my presentation and also let me know whether it is visible to all. I hope that my presentation is visible to all.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. It's quite visible.
Okay. Thank you. It's fine. So today I'm just here to share my research study based on this topic that is very relevant in the present times. University students' perceptions of mobile learning during COVID-19 pandemic, a case study at Aligarh Muslim University. Okay, being a teacher educator over here, we teachers, are doing online teaching, and like students also, teachers are also facing a lot of problems. But whether this mobile learning, this online learning is working or not, for especially for students, I think this topic makes a lot of sense in the present scenario. Let me continue with my presentation. That here, as we know, nobody, I can say everybody is familiar what is COVID-19 and what all, scary situation it has created across the world. So it is an acute respiratory disease caused by, coronavirus. And since it was being declared as a pandemic in the year 2020 by WHO, every sector across the world has been deeply and adversely affected, and education sector is no exception. And because of this, a very challenging situation is being created before educational institutions, because they do not want to lose this ongoing semester and even more semesters in the near future. That is why an urgent need was being felt to save our students, our teachers, our semesters, and our societies, our nation as a whole. And that is why a number of educational institutions, they have decided to change the mode of teaching from traditional mode to online mode. And India is no exception. We have also been following online teaching mode from March 2020 onwards. So here online teaching or online learning I have taken in the sense that if we are using our mobile phones for attending our classes, in that sense I have taken the meaning of mobile learning over here. And it is this mobile learning, it is not a new term. It has been in use for the last so many years, and in a number of countries across the world, it has become quite popular, right, in the field of education. And because of its unique features, because of its multifunctional features, we can download, we can install so many applications, and we can use them for a variety of purposes in our daily life. And it is affordable, and it is also quite effective, as being confirmed by a number of researches conducted across the world, both before and after the pandemic situation. So whether it is an effective tool, really it is a promising tool for both teachers and students in the present scenario. That's why I felt the need to better find out what are the perceptions of my students or the students of my university towards mobile learning during this critical situation of pandemic. So my study is targeting the following objectives, right? These are the three objectives I have made for this, for this research study. First is to study the mobile-related factors that influence the perceptions of mobile learning among university students. The second one, to study the usage patterns of social networking sites for learning among university students. And the last one, which is the most important one, that is to study the perceptions of mobile learning among university students. So this is basically a quantitative descriptive study in which a purposive sampling of 300 students who are doing their graduation, they are being selected from 6 different departments of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Aligarh Muslim University. And for the purpose of data collection, a standardized questionnaire was being used, which was being developed by Biswas, Roy and Roy in the year 2020. And this questionnaire consists of 3 parts. Part 1, it is basically, collecting the basic demographic information of the students, and also the information about the operating system of students' mobile phones, the frequency of using the internet, time spending on mobile phones every day, and using mobile phones for academic purposes or not. The part 2 of this questionnaire, it is meant for asking the students about the uses and preferences of different social networking sites for learning purposes. And the part 3, it is mainly for the measurement of students' perceptions and attitudes towards the effectiveness of mobile learning and social media tools during COVID-19 pandemic time. So the statements in this questionnaire, especially in the part 3, they are of Likert type, and they are being measured on a 5-point scale ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. So let us come to the findings and as well as the discussion. Okay, this is just the information which we have collected from the part 1 of the questionnaire. That is, as we see the gender, females, 55% of females, and male, 45% of male students, they have responded to the questionnaire. And the student, they were residing in both rural and urban areas. 40% they were residing, at the time of study in rural areas, and 60% they were there in urban area. And especially our university is a residential one. It is having thousands and thousands of hostelers, but because of the pandemic situation, a number of hostelers, they have to vacate the hostel, and they have been asked to go to their respective homes. But best if we see the residential status, that out of them, and out of the total sample, 48% they were hostlers, and the 52% were non-hostlers. So this is just, the demographic, information regarding the students who have participated in the study. This is the information based on the second part of the questionnaire, that is information regarding mobile phones of the students. So first is about the operating system. It is being seen that 3 types of operating systems, they have been there in the mobile phones of the students. Android, 90% of the students, they are using Android-based mobiles. Only 8% they were using Windows-based, and that only 2% they were using the mobile phone of Apple brand. And when this question was being asked, what is the frequency of using internet on mobile phone, in terms of these 4 options, so 46.5% students, they say they always use internet on mobile. 34.5% they say they use they use internet on mobile frequently, and 16% they say only occasionally they use, and 3% they say they only use internet on mobile very rarely. And when it comes to the time spent on using internet on mobile phone every day, these are the information that a number of students, 44.60% students, they are using internet for 1 to 3 hours, and 33.4% they have been using mobile, internet on mobile for 3 to 5 hours. And same is the case, as we will see, only 14% they are using the mobile for more than 5 hours, that is 5 to 7 hours, and only 8% they are using internet on mobile for more than 7 hours, right? And just it is a very surprising thing that all of them, they have acknowledged that they have been using mobile phone for educational purposes. And as we can see in the present scenario, they do not have any other choice, because they do not have any access to educational resources. They do not have any access to library. They do not have any access to their teachers, right? So this is what they have to be dependent on the mobile for their studies. Yeah, this is about what social networking sites they are being using, and a number of students, about 100% students, they have said yes, they use Google for for learning, and 75% they said they are using YouTube, and 25% say no, we are not using YouTube for educational purpose. For Facebook also, surprising, 35% students have been found to be using, and 65% said no, they are not using Facebook for this purpose. But it is a shocking thing to see that in the age of this internet, that people are not familiar. Even Twitter and Instagram can also be used for learning purposes. And that's why this is a shocking thing that none of them, they have said they are using Twitter and Instagram, even though they are having their accounts on Twitter and Instagram, but they have not acknowledged that they are using them for educational purposes. Because one of the reasons behind that is that they are not familiar with this fact that Twitter and Instagram, they can also be used for educational purposes. So in that regard, I think the students need to be made aware. Even the teachers also need to be made aware about these facts. The most important part of the study, that is the students' perceptions of mobile learning, which are being measured with the help of statements, Likert type statements. And this Likert scale, it is consisting of 18 statements. If I will take you to the next slide. It is 18 statements. And if you will see, if I will bring your attention to these 2 columns, which is standing from SA, that is strongly agree, and the second column, that is A, that is agree. Okay, if we combine these to the percentages of the students who are agreeing with each of these statements, then it was being found that for none of the statements, the percentage of students agreeing with these statements is not more than 50%. Only for statement 2, which is mobile learning is a good idea to minimize the study gap during COVID-19 pandemic situation. Here, the sum of these two columns, that is 70.5%. Students have acknowledged, yes, mobile learning is a good idea to minimize the study gap which they have been experiencing during this pandemic time. And also for one other statement, that is the statement number 15, that during COVID-19 time, mobile acts as a learning companion. And if we will add up these two percentages, 40.3 and 35.2, it is around 75%. So only for these two statements, the percentage of students agreeing with them, it is more than 50%. But for other remaining statements, you will find that the percentage of students agreeing with them, it is less than 50%, clearly indicating that students are not happy with mobile learning. They have more inclined towards face-to-face learning. They are missing face-to-face learning with the teachers in their traditional classroom environment. Maybe a number of factors are responsible for that. If I would say that why they are saying all these things, if I will go into the reasons, because I'm also the part of this institution, I'm teaching with them, I'm also dealing with them. The students are also experiencing a number of problems, and they are sharing these problems with their teachers, including me. So what I have noticed,
sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Uzma. I know this topic is something which we would like to discuss a lot of things about. We are all facing the challenges of online education, and we wish all the students would have been back. But the time is very much limited. If you can conclude.
Yes, I'm just about to finish. Only 2 minutes, and I'm just going to finish.
No, not 2 minutes. Not 2 minutes. You have already taken more than 13 minutes. Just wind up. I would request you. Thank you so much.
I'm just winding it off. Yes. So what I can say. Yes. This is all about the findings, as you can see, and these are the certain educational implications based on the findings. Especially the educational policy makers and the education administrators, they should not give a ultimatum to implement anything new in teaching learning process. First, train your teachers and students in this regard, and those trainings need to be carried out at regular intervals, because without mental and physical preparedness, no innovation is going to work in any field. So that is lacking, because suddenly teachers have been asked to go for online teaching. Even students, they were being forced to go for it. And that is why, about what I think, this is the main reason why in this study, negative perceptions are being exhibited by the students towards, online learning. That's all I have to present. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Uzma. A wonderful presentation, and these are the challenges of the present times in view of the COVID. And yesterday only I was reading that we should be ready to face the third wave of COVID. So I don't know how long these online classes are going to last, but yes, these are the challenges. But at the same time, there are opportunities also. If there would not have been not only online presentations, online seminars, we would not have been able to listen to eminent speakers from all over the country. We would have never have been able to speak to our colleagues from Pakistan. But yes, students have a lot of challenges with regard to online education, but it is an opportunity, as I said. Now, there's a lot of emphasis on MOOC courses, SWAYAM courses, and even 40% of the syllabus has to be MOOC courses. Let's see how it emerges in the near future. But very good presentation. If there is any question from the esteemed audience, you can ask the question. Any questions, please? Is there anybody who wants to ask question to Dr. Uzma? Otherwise, we will continue to the next presenter. I assume there is no question. So let's go to our second speaker. We have somebody has his or her microphone on. Kindly mute it. We have Dr. Rajni Pathania. Dr. Rajni Pathania is assistant professor in the MS University, Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda, Gujarat. Dr. Rajni Pathania, you may present your paper. Dr. Rajni, are you here? Hello? Dr. Rajni Pathania? I think she's not here. Let me check it again. I can't see her name. Dr. Rajni Pathania.
No, ma'am,
No.
she's not here.
Yeah, maybe if she joins later, we can allow her then. Let's go to the third presenter. Meena Shankar. Meena ji, are you here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Meena Shankar ji, she's assistant professor, Government Polytechnic College, Kannur, Kerala and India. Yeah, Meena ji, you may continue with you may start your presentation.
Good afternoon to one and all. A warm welcome. My topic for the day is art-based interventions in academics, the robust connect between language, literature, education, and music. Moving on to a new era, the 21st century, we have witnessed a number of challenges in the field of education, and it is here that inclusivity comes in. The connect between language, literature, education, and music, and all the arts have expanded ever since the beginning of time and intersected across various realms by integrating literacy, literary, educative, academic endeavors, and musical abilities and artistic abilities in learners. This has definitely resulted in the refinement of the psyche and enhanced the synthesis of music and knowledge by forming skills of cognition and learning abilities. In this context, I would like to say that music education, applied music, music analysis, music psychology, and musical concerns address the challenges of the academia and therefore expounds the role and significance it plays in elevating a student to master language abilities and upthrust the all-round development of a pedagogue. As a sublime mode of communication, we know that the nuances of this art form and the musical intersections and interactions and ensemble that we accost in our day-to-day life with music pedagogy generate and integrate music as not just a part of aesthetics, but academics. This will aid students with learning disabilities and even autistic children to celebrate learning as art-based and enjoy music to integrate all art-based education with erudition, purpose and passion to echo a pain of integrated, joyful, prolific learning. Art-based learning or the study of aesthetics. In art, literature, music, dance, and the study of communication goes beyond the parameters of learning the medium of knowledge because it enables the perfection of expression and assimilating and imbibing all knowledge. The cultural tradition of poetics, which has developed over the quantum of years, can be located even in Indian aesthetics or Indian aesthetic theory as a theory of integrated art that includes performing arts, literary literature and music, what we call in our Indian context as Sahitya and Sangeeta in India, is definitely the transformation and representation of the objectification of creativity. The raga, laya, thala, and swaras of music in Indian music, if we would clearly watch out, is based on the series of sound and language to create balance in the lyrics, and this reveals that language is the vehicle of thought and music the expression of communication. The recalled experiences of past, present, and future thoughts form language and translate into speech. All of us know that the universal potential language of arts is based on the electromagnetic signs of our memory, and this signifies the appreciation of thought and nurturing of musical abilities in a child, enhancing his learning skills, updation of knowledge, creativity, and harmony by soothing the neurons and de-stresses him to acquire learning and make it a pleasurable experience. Although all research has shown that the nexus between music, language, art, and education has expanded since time immemorial, the tenuous connect between language learning to enhance cognition sees that the projection of the intersection of music, psyche, and education is indeed therapeutic healing. And this throws light on the syntax of language learning, cognition, and therapy. The embellishments of this art form, like the psychological and therapeutic arenas of a child's development, like in media, art, and performance studies or theories, or music studies, including engaged learning, listening, and creation of world music would definitely aid in the contribution of a music pedagogy to enhance interest in the young learners. The implications and expectations of this intersection can be seen even in this pandemic, because whenever we have certain musical insights blended to this learning, we see that it improves memory, enhances creativity, and instills a calmitude and team spirit in the children. The John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts defines integration as an approach to teaching in which students construct and demonstrate understanding of this art form. These skills alter the negativity in children, enhance diagnostic skills of observation, and motivate learners to gain technical skills and better behavioral issues through the calmitude of music. With the world on its toes, and we, the adult world, chasing the much needed goals of our day-to-day lives, children are pressurized, uncared, and subject to stress. Time constraints have a debilitating effect on children and results in children being subject to mental maladies and psychotic disorders. The focus of therapeutic measures to allow children to juggle with the anxieties of this problem and to nurture their innate talents and address their issues, because they are just victims of technology and no longer savor the physical and emotional joys of wonder and creation that we did as children, show us the need that a viable form of anxiety reduction in children can be possible if they are channelized to any art-based interactions that they enjoy and savor. Qualitative and quantitative learning through recognition and appreciation of any art form with conversation on higher realms of aesthetics will help in the interpretive and critical judgment of art-based learning for one's education. The methodology of what we call an artography, or using art as a source of knowledge to aid learning tools, holds good here. It is a localized methodology, and artology tries to evolve from artistic forms of processes that are developed by education researchers. Discourses with art and traditional textbook learning should be blended with intellectual creativity and a musicianship or journey into discovery to elevate the mind wherever possible. Educational goal is not just any art theory competence, but competence of learning each and every subject through inclusivity of art, herein music. Like all arts closely related to language, the aesthetic art of music unlocks the door to learning, and interlacing music with curriculum is a strategy that can seamlessly merge art standards It's very essential for the teacher, because he has to hold in high esteem the integration of a syllabus and classroom as a pathway to learning through art. The socio-economic or socio-emotional experience of learning education. To unleash the creativity of each and every student, the aesthetic educational practices should help to create research in the sociological and cognitive neurosciences of art and reveal that all these arts can inculcate discipline and joy. Soundtracking the classroom enables integration of listening, speaking, reading, writing skills, and adds lyrical analysis in the discussion of rhyme, meter, diction, and strengthens vocal music, storytelling, poems, or songs. It is this life-enriching, indispensable, fundamental pillar of education in academics that definitely would trigger emotional responses in children and definitely enhance the power of the neural network and neural activity and bring about a better neurocognitive development in brain dynamics. The expertise improves concentration to stimulate new brain images and enables easier pattern formation of visual elements and project better control of spatio-temporal tasks and even the grasp of mathematical skills for children. Plato remarked that musical training is a potent instrument than any other because rhythm and harmony can find the way to our soul. So I believe that art integrated learning, herein I have just taken the example of music, is a framework to experiential learning and ought to be infused in the learner to become an integral part of the child's development and growth. The notations and notes in music can be taught while teaching language, maths, social sciences, and is a connect to the cognitive domain, thereby easing out the child's love for learning. It helps the students to co-create the artistic, emotional, and social development and experience an experiential holistic development. The integration of artistic and aesthetically soul-satisfying experiences of art broadens the mind of the children to shift away from rote learning and what they call mundane boredom. It prides in nurturing an overriding identity, builds sensitivity, and helps to explore multiple perspectives of concepts. As Einstein remarked, if I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician. I often think in music, and I live my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music. So music, like other arts, can be used as a pedagogical tool in elevating and magically mesmerizing all our young learners all over the globe and enrich language learning by incorporating this as a form of creative self-expression and to strengthen the bonding between children, to communicate with the teacher and see that brain breaks are welcome to the student because inclusivity in language learning and literature enhances a higher order of thinking. Knowledge about music, musicians, dance forms, art forms can be voiced through songs, and any art-based intervention can definitely elevate a child to higher realms of thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Meena ji. Very good paper. And art, as we all know, it has played a very important role in our overall growth and development. And we have, as you already said, that we have a lot of literature available also, which throws light that how music has been able to, music and other art-based interactions, how they have been able to uplift our spirits. And very good presentations. And in fact, I would just like to, we are all human beings, but just 1 or 2 days ago, these days we are flooded with the WhatsApp messages and videos. I was seeing a video of a a zoo in Germany. There are no visitors now, zoos are shut down and animals. I hope I still have that video in my WhatsApp. And you know what the musicians did in Germany a couple of days ago? All the animals, because animal behavior, they were all feeling so depressed that somebody came there and he started playing guitar, that violin and some other instrument. And actually, I was zapped to see that how all the animals, they came from their closets to that person. And this is the impact of music on everybody. Even in these stressful times all over the world, how do we divert ourselves? We listen to the music, and that's why it is underlined that how important role art based interactions can play in the lives of the children and all of us. Actually, very good presentation, Meena ji. I congratulate for you for this. Now we
Thank
would
I
and now
used,
and
I used music when the children were feeling bored on the virtual platform.
yes,
And I
yes,
felt
yes.
there was a real difference when children were singing or when I had some small activities. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Not only that, I'll just, just to lighten all of you up, I saw another video by Kamla Bhasin. If you know, Kamla Bhasin is the Kamla Bhasin, a very well-known feminist. She recorded a Zoom. People are singing on Zoom. And, the song was, तू सबका मेहरबान तू बख्शिश कर तेरी ये जमी तेरा आसमां. मतलब like you are not, आप लोग इकट्ठे नहीं मतलब मिलके नहीं गा सकते, but you can sing together on Zoom platform, all recorded, and then it was shared. तेरी ये जमी तेरा आसमां तू बड़ा मेहरबान. It is a very apt song in the context of whatever is happening, but this is what music can do, and it has got so many shares. That is why we want to listen to these things. Thank you so much, Meena ji. The next speaker, I have to go back to again the. I'm not able to. Just a second, I'll just find out who is the next. I think that was a joint paper. I'll again. Yeah, this is the program schedule. This, I believe, was a joint paper. Yes, this is a joint paper by Sinoj Anthony, research scholar, Lovely Professional University, Phagwara, Punjab, and Ishfaq Ahmed Tambu. He's also of the same LPU, Phagwara. The role of mass media and IT in redesigning the teaching learning process. Sinoj, you are there. You may present your paper. You can take 10 minutes. You can take 10 to 11, 12 minutes. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, a very good afternoon to one and all. I hope that you can watch my presentation. It is visible, I hope, and I am audible.
It is.
Okay, good. Yes. Okay, my topic is this. It is about the role of mass media and information technology to redesign the teaching learning process based on the current scenario, pandemic coronavirus. That means COVID-19. We all know about the COVID-19. So firstly, I thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to present this paper. Moreover, I pray to God because now we all are suffering with the coronavirus. And again, I wish that God may allow us to come back to the normal life once again. So this, we know this coronavirus affected almost all human areas and in the every walks of human life. So now particularly I am going to discuss about the education. So first of all, education may be defined as a transfer of knowledge and skills from one generation to the other. So that means education is a transferring process. So what is teaching learning process? Teaching learning is also helping to transfer the knowledge from teacher to the learner. So teaching learning process is very important aspect in our education. So according to the present context, we know that the role of mass media as well as information technology to transfer the education, the knowledge of the education. So mass media, currently education through media has become a popular culture. The academic arena had adopted the media culture from the very beginning of the popularity of various media. So before this COVID-19 situation, people used the various mass media for educational purposes, even television, radio, and all. So again, during the time of COVID-19, we know that all are at home now. Okay, people are at home and they are facing the challenges of COVID-19 also. And during this time, mass media are very helpful for imparting knowledge and also helping the educational activities. And information technology also, we know about IT. And now it is a broad area and we all are discussing about IT and how it helps our education. So now let me say about the teaching learning process. Now already we know that we have a particular system of teaching learning process and even we have designed our curriculum accordingly. Now we use mass media and information technology in a huge way. So the traditional concept or perception should be changed. And according to the present situation, we have to redesign them. So first of all, we are going to deal about the elements of teaching learning process. The first element is assessment. So it is a feedback of the present condition. First of all, we should assess and what is our condition and how to impart the knowledge and how our education is going on. So this awareness should be there. And after this awareness, we should plan accordingly. That means our goal setting. It is planning stage. So after the goal setting, we have to implement it. This element is called implementation. This is the execution of our planning. Then comes evaluation. It is a critical examining of our implementation. There we should critically evaluate and examine. The teaching learning process should fulfill an individual social growth, emotional growth, intellectual growth, and physical growth. So how the teaching learning process, the social growth? We are living in society. In the classroom learning, now we are in a virtual platform and e-learning. So there the social growth has a certain limitation because most of the time the teaching learning process will become a one-man show. That means the teachers, they are giving lectures through the online platforms, and students sometimes they are passively receiving it and they don't get enough time and chance to interact with the other students. So in a sense, the social growth is limited over there. And about emotional growth in the classroom, students will do certain activities and their emotional maturity will be there in the classroom, but in the online platform it is limited. Now again about intellectual growth. Okay, it is same in the online classroom as well as in the virtual class. In the regular classroom. And about the physical growth, that is also is possible. Physical growth is also possible. Now we have to concentrate mainly about the social growth and emotional growth, so that we have to redesign. How can we help our students to acquire this growth, mainly social as well as emotional growth? That should be a matter of discussion. Okay, now I am going to say about mass media and technology, how they dominate our present educational system. Mass media and information technology has changed the traditional classroom teaching and learning setting into technologically oriented system. Already we have discussed a lot even in this conference also about this particular point. Now again, the advancement of technology always brings social and conceptual changes. The technology always brings social changes, and again, according to the present situation, we have adapted a new method and a new method for teaching and learning. The technology, knowledge, and experiences of young people have brought a lot of educational changes. So even before the COVID-19, the young generation, they started various distance education or online classes. And now during the time of, I think, as compared to the youngsters, the teachers faced some challenges in the initial stage. Now teachers also adapted this culture, and they also presenting good classes over internet. Now in the information age, people should be more independent as far as education is concerned and should plan and control their career developments. In the sense, continuous learning will be the most significant element of education in the information age. Suppose, okay, we will overcome this pandemic situation, and again there will be regular classes, but the scope of mass media and technology is still there, because many universities and educational institutions, they will offer online classes. So we have to redesign accordingly. Now again, COVID-19 and teaching learning process. So already we have discussed that COVID-19 brought a lot of social and conceptual changes. People could not get rid of the effects of this pandemic across the world. Even we are suffering a lot. So already we have heard that the third wave is going to approach us. It affected political views, economic systems, social interactions, cultural views, lifestyle, entertainment, education, sports, games, and all areas of human life. According to UNICEF analysis, some 77% of children under the age of 18 worldwide are living in one of 132 countries. Now it was a survey of 2020. Now according to the present survey, it affected almost all nations and almost all countries and almost all human walks. Now about virtual classroom, teachers provide classroom instructions through WhatsApp, Google Meet, Zoom app, personal blogs, YouTube, etc. Classroom assessments are conducting through Google Forms and similar applications. We use the technology and the technological advancement even to conduct the assessments also. And even we give the assignments to students online, and even they also prepare in a good way. Students complete their assignments and other projects through online platforms. Students exhibit their extracurricular activities and talents on social media platforms. And they get a lot of opportunities to compete with other students. Even some students already became very viral because they have performed good activities or creativities through social media, especially through their own YouTube channels and all. And students, they are taking a lot of opportunities, and teachers also should take the same, because even after the pandemic, they should maintain their YouTube channels, especially for imparting education and providing good clarities and awareness apart from the classroom teachings. Yes, now again, during this year, most of the schools conduct online competitions and webinars to promote co-curricular activities. So we are the beneficiaries of this particular platform. Even we take a lot of advantages through online, especially to attend various seminars and conferences. Okay, now about redesign. Today, teachers' efficiency is not evaluated according to the qualification or their intellectual knowledge. Instead, it is observed through their knowledge and proficiency to handle academic activities with the help of mass media and information technologies. Today, the development of a nation is designed on the quality of education it provides. Every nation is evaluated according to its educational systems. The reputation of an educational institution is recorded as the facilities it offers. Again, the efficiency of a teacher is evaluated as the method he or she teaches. Teacher has a lot of knowledge and a good IQ and all, but she doesn't have or he doesn't have a proper knowledge about the technology and about the mass media. So the effectiveness won't be work out. The students won't get benefit, especially the new generation, because their medium is social media or even these new technologies. And even teachers also should be aware about these facilities and these opportunities, and they should use it maximum. Now, the proficiency of a student is assessed on the information he or she gathers. Now, for students, they can gather the information from many online platforms. Even they can go YouTube, Google, and they will gather a lot of information. Hence, according to the present context, no one can deny the role of mass media and information technology to redesign the teaching learning process. Now, it is our duty to redesign the teaching learning process. Okay, so as educators and facilitators, we should think about this, and we have to make more discussions. And after the corona, or even during this second wave or third wave of corona, we have to give quality education to our students. And for that, we should use our media and information IT in a good way. So that's all about my paper and presentation. If you have any queries, definitely you can ask me. Okay, anyhow, once again, I thank everyone for giving me this opportunity, particularly for Kavita Shurima. So she introduced this session. Thank you, ma'am, very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anthony. Very good paper. And it's the paper is very, very close to the reality, whatever is happening since past 1 year. If I would discuss the situation in Jammu and Kashmir 1 year ago, we were absolutely not ready to, no, I would say not ready. Actually, we were not doing much online learning. But when the situation erupted in March last year, slowly and gradually we tried different platforms. And the major problem in Jammu and Kashmir was that internet was almost zero. First it was shut down, and because of the conflict situation, and then we got 2G, and running classes on 2G, experimenting with Zoom, with different platforms, Cisco. I don't know how many things we experimented with, but thankfully we were able to switch over to online mode. And yes, as you rightly said, Mr. Anthony, now all of us have to redesign our academic courses, which are mandatory for which it is mandatory to be present on offline. But now we have to redesign, because online classroom is the reality of the future. And perhaps this is the reason that all the universities have got a letter from Swayam MOOC courses that at least 40% of the classroom teaching in the next future, it has to be 40%, it has to be online. And we are all wondering how 40% of the MA course has to be online. It's still being discussed. But thank you so much. And thank you. Before I invite the next speaker, I pay my namaskar to my senior mentor and my esteemed colleague, Professor Anita Gloria. Ma'am, how are you? Great to see you here. This is the online platform. This is the role of mass media and technology. At least we are able to speak to each other and listen to each other. Hope you're fine, ma'am. Professor Anita Gloria. She happened to be my dean.
Yes. How are
Thank you so much. I'm fine, ma'am. At home only. I went to the university yesterday, but there was nobody. So I came back after an hour. But it's, I pray for the safety of everybody, and I hope everybody would be fine. So we will take the last presenter of this session, and then I think we are on time. It's 1:55. In next 10 minutes, we will be winding up this session. I'll just invite the next speaker, who is, just a minute. The next speaker is Teresa Vahengam. Teresa Vahengam, Research Scholar, Department of Education, Manipur University. Gender Equality and Equality in NEP, New Education Policy 2020. Is she there? Hello? Teresa. Dr. Shubhra, I think she is not here. So if anybody
Yes, ma'am.
has any question from any of the speakers, I think most of the questions or if things have been addressed. And with this, I'm thankful to all of you, all the presenters who presented wonderful papers, enriching our knowledge. And I'm thankful to the organizers who gave me an opportunity to chair this session. Looking forward to be part of the next sessions also. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Shubhra. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kavita Suri ma'am, for chairing the technical session 1, and equally wonderful were the presenters who presented beautiful papers and presented it so beautifully, especially Meena ma'am, whose topic was focused on the music, and equally musical was her tone and her the way she presented the paper. It was flawless, and it was wonderful to listen to her beautiful voice. And all the presenters, thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. And I think it is now is the time to, and I would also like to welcome Anita Belavaria ma'am in the event. It's a pleasure, ma'am, to have you on the event. Thank you so much, ma'am.